House Select Committee investigating January the 6th has released another new batch of interview transcripts. The latest documents include former White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson's remaining testimony. According to those transcripts, Hutchinson told the committee she saw former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows burning documents in his office fireplace about a dozen times between December of 2020 and January of 2021. Politico had previously reported that Meadows had burned papers in his office after a meeting with a Republican Congressman, Scott Perry, who was working to challenge the 2020 election results. The committee also released the transcript of former Labour Secretary Eugene Scalia. According to his transcript, Scalia told the committee he called former Attorney General Bill Barr shortly after the January the 6th Capitol attack, and Barr advised him to resign from the Trump administration. Barr had already stepped down from his post in December of 2020. When asked why he declined to take Barr's advice, Scalia told the committee he thought that trying to work within the administration to steady the ship would have greater value than resigning, something we've heard many times before. Now, joining us on these political investigations, reporter for The Guardian, Hugo Lowell. Hugo, what struck you most about... We'd seen a lot of Cassidy Hutchinson's transcripts before, of course. What struck you most about what you heard from these transcripts that were released yesterday?
Yeah, no, I thought the Hutchinson transcripts were particularly interesting. These were from the summer. Previously we got the transcripts from September. And I think three things stood out to me. First of all is, as you say, the fact that Meadows was burning documents in his fireplace. Now, Hutchinson couldn't elaborate or confirm any of the details of the kinds of documents he was burning, and I'm not sure that's something even the DOJ can probably corroborate. But it is interesting when you think about the timing. Hutchinson testified that certainly one of the instances in which Meadows was burning these documents was when Perry was actually in the Chief of Staff's office. They were talking about election issues. They were talking about the vice president's role on January 6th. And certainly if you're looking for circumstantial evidence, that seems to be very damning. I mean, two other things that stood out to me was that Hutchinson was in the room for part of Trump's call to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, and she seemed to notice how the White House counsels were quite concerned after that call. And as we have since found out, DOJ is investigating that call. The Georgia District Attorney is investigating that call. And one of the concerns for the White House counsels was exactly what was being discussed. So I thought that was a really big deal.
Hey, Hugo, just sticking with you here for a second. As you think about all these transcripts that have come out over the course of the last almost a week, and there's still more to come, so far, what do you think the revelation is that you've seen in these transcripts that has been the most material, not just the most entertaining or the most titillating, but something that's been material potentially to the DOJ's investigations going forward? And what are the transcripts that are outstanding that you're most looking forward to getting your hands on in the weeks ahead?
To me, having looked at this investigation for 16 months, I've covered January 6th since the start of the Select Committee's investigation. What has been really interesting has been what the committee couldn't get and what witnesses were reluctant to talk about. And if you go through the transcripts, even the latest that came out yesterday, there are various hints and various moments when witnesses become really resistant to talking about certain events. For instance, Ali Alexander, who is seen as this kind of key linchpin among several of the January 6th rally organizers because he had connections to Roger Stone, he had connections to Proud Boys, who in turn had connections to Oath Keepers, and those groups stormed the Capitol. There is a text that Alexander sends on January 5 when he says Trump at the end of his speech is going to order us to go to the Capitol. He could not apparently remember how he came to learn of that investigation. If I'm the Justice Department and I'm trying to figure out exactly how the thread unravels, that's what I want to get. I want to get Ali Alexander in front of the grand jury. I want to probe him on how he came to have that knowledge and why he was so reluctant to tell the committee.